of that is described on the schedule. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it. To Paula's point, we're pointing out an option on this. So we have not made a decision on it. We have a column that says recommendation. We're recommending replacement because over the long term, it's not costly. Adds longevity to the tax. So it's not a dramatic change. It's a matter of the fact that we are offering an option, and that to be continued with the lining if the voters deal with that. I consider that as the most viable thing. It is a cost reduction. You can see that on the last column, last page, that there is $50,000 difference, approximately $50,000 difference. So if you want to be conservative on the cost elements, we can continue with the lining. The schedule is going to be disrupted by the write-off tanks. Because we're going to be consumed over the next year dealing with that particular tank, so that many of these tanks will be deferred for a year or thereabouts or later as a result of our schedule being consumed by the write-off tank replacement. So simple as that. As far as the funding, it's a matter of the whole funding package needs to be looked at in terms of the write-off tank replacement as well as these. There was a $205,000 warrant article that still exists. Whether or not we modify that or whatever is something to be done in a few near-term date. So we will be working out the financing alternatives, dealing with those particular issues, and looking at the schedule as to what is feasible as a result of the write-off tank replacement.
I'd like to say something before we start. You take your, it says Chicora, look at your calendar. Mine starts at Chicora for the young child. On Muddy Beach. Look at the calendar and go to the last page. Says cost analysis summary. You got Chicora. A new tank is $32,000 complete. Almost $33,000 in second line. $27,000. The difference is $5,000 to buy a new tank versus extending it. If you inspect it and line it, and you're only going to get 20 years out of it. This is what this analysis is showing you when we did it. Same thing with Young Trout and Muddy Beach. We have no option on Muddy Beach. Muddy Beach has to be replaced. It's a boom. So that one kind of speaks for itself. The other two, it shows you the difference. One is $8,800. You can get 50 years out of it. That's what that $8,800 buys you.
Is it a steel tank or a concrete tank?
These are steel. These are small 5,000 gallon tanks.
Won't that have to be lined?
They come line, and then every 5 years afterwards. If you want to spend more money, we can go find a concrete tank to spend more money. But this is showing you the difference between the 20-year line, inspecting line, versus a 50-year, go with a new tank and maintain it every 5 years like it should. This is what this cost analysis is showing. That's why we jumped out of it. Inspecting and lining the small tanks, because it didn't prove to us to be worthwhile over the long term. Go ahead.
With regards to the 5,000 gallon tanks, I guess my question is either for Chuck Engineering or in your analysis, maybe the analysis in better detail. Are those properly sized? I know they're what's called mid-station storage for boosting the water up the hill, but are those properly sized? Did you get an analysis of that? And then secondly, I'm wondering if Chuck can explain why we want to take 10,000 gallons of storage, that tank here right behind us, out of service. We're just basically going to let it rot and die. and take that out of service.
Let's stay on the 5,000 first.
Correct. So for the 5,000s, are they properly sized with regards to storage capacity and the need for the future growth of the district?
We never decided, this is total replacement of the tanks.
Oh, just like you didn't question the.
No, I mean, you might not have one, but young probably do without building something else.
Right, right.
I mean, the 5,000 is going in.
So I just want to play back what I thought I heard you both say, which was, in this year's bond, money was approved to line all the tanks. After doing an analysis and understanding the difference between lining cost and replacement cost, the commissioners have decided to no longer just put a pause on spending any additional money on lining and propose back to the legislative body next year the replacement of the tanks. Basically not spending any more money, going back to the legislative body and saying we'd like to have the legislative body consider the replacement of the tanks. That's what I think I just heard you say. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Why wasn't that done last year? I don't understand. I don't understand why that analysis wasn't done before the.
Analysis was done just before the annual meeting.
Why wasn't that proposed at the annual meeting?
I think we brought it up at the annual meeting, but it was skipped by at the end.
Yeah, but it wasn't in the warrant article was approved to do it the way you proposed. And now, yeah, I remember it, 11:15, you came forward and said you were working on this, and the point was, well, why didn't you propose it then?
I think it was just being done.
The annual meeting moderator shut us down.
Oh,
That's just
stop
the- I will not stop.
He did, he allowed 2 minutes, let's be factual here. Go ahead.
My question is, if the concrete tanks are cheaper up here, why would they not be cheaper down there?
Right.
For the smaller tanks?
I haven't priced out concrete tanks, I just took the steel tanks and put this analysis.
Right, but we've
I said, I
also,
said, do it, concrete tank.
Well, if we're looking at the cost of replacing them,
Yeah, right.
and the price is so much closer, and up here, the concrete tanks are actually cheaper, I think it would be worth the look.
It would be, I think that what they were trying to do was compare apples to apples, lining 5,000, replacing 5,000 steel. I agree, we ought to look into sizing and concrete if it's something that we decide to move forward with.
Issue that concrete lasts longer.
Exactly. You will run into the smaller the tank,
More money.
essentially because of the fact, you have an excavator on site, so what they can do, it's not like a 5-gallon cost-effective thing. So, but I think it's absolutely worth looking into. It was something that we decided to do. If we wanted 20,000, size of our lots and things like that would have to be taken into consideration. I think there's quite a bit of legwork that would have to be done. So, but yeah, without a doubt, you just want to maybe compare now steel with concrete in this scenario as well.
There might not be room in 2 places to put the tanks. That would be Youngfall and Chicago. Mighty Beach, because that's,
Two that we won't do.
we could have gotten enough.
But-
Just a comment about the steel, I mean, typically, we don't see concrete tanks cast in 5,000.
Yeah, we would definitely.
Just 5,000.
Less than 10,000?
Thank you.
That's
There we go.
fine.
All right, so this cost analysis we're looking at here, you just identified as a difference of $5,170, $87.70, and $51.70. Does that include the cost of hookups, excavation work, et cetera, et cetera?
Individual tank?
It's hard to understand all of it, and I'm trying to listen to the conversation at the same time as going through a spreadsheet. It's not like I had this ahead of time, so does it or does it not?
Yes, it does.
It does, so it's truly only $5,100 more, and it's exactly the same. Okay.
Keep in
So,
mind, every year that goes by, you're gonna be probably having 3 to 5% escalation costs.
so we're in this predicament now of a warrant article not getting fulfilled because we ended up with getting information at the annual meeting that wasn't the most up-to-date, and then it's presented to us 9 months later as to what the best course of action should have been by 2 commissioners who were the same 2 people preparing for last year's annual meeting, and you wonder why we don't trust what we're getting for information. So we were told bad information then that we voted on, They got the warrant article approved and they chose not to do it because they had other information that came later. And then when we're asked to become part of the process by a gentleman like yourself who is an expert on this, we're told that they're not going to meet what your suggestions are, which is a weeknight meeting. That's why we lack the trust to get these projects done.
This is nothing but a political statement by you. I'll tell you right now, you can't prove the project that we haven't been successful on water, getting done. Point blank,
Point blank?
yes. Larry?
Yeah, regarding these smaller tanks, of course, the big ones are number one priority, you would agree?
Yes.
Okay, these are less of a priority at this point. Probably not all in the same year. It would make sense to push them out into the future. They're smaller, they're less priority, they're less money. It's gonna be hard to swallow just a big project for the huge tank. Why should we spend a lot of time on it now with vague numbers when it's gonna be in the future? Let's concentrate on what really needs to get done in the next year or two. And if these aren't gonna be done in the next year or two because they're a low priority, we can't afford them all. Talking about the details of it now is just wasting a lot of time.
You got $40,000, Muddy Beach needs them doing right away.
We're talking about small tanks.
Muddy Beach
They
is
don't
small.
seem to have a problem right now.
Muddy Beach is the problem. We took sediment into a pump and jammed up a pump.
That's not the tank's problem. That's your
What's the
filtration
sediment?
problem.
The
You
what?
need a sediment filter and the stuff coming out of the well. to get it out of the
It
pump.
wasn't out of the well, it was out of the tank.
Again, if there's something wrong with the tank because it got sediment in because there wasn't proper filtration, that doesn't make the tank invalid.
The tank is a
Are you
big,
gonna try to do them all in 1 year?
no.
Then let's concentrate on what needs to get done.
If we go back to the CIP that was referenced earlier, when Ralph held it up originally, it shows that the tanks are not intended to be done in 1 year for the 5,000 gallon tanks. But it also shows a potential plan that is being formulated where if the district continues to approve the $20,000 into the tank replacement capital reserve fund on an annual basis, we can do these on an every other year throughout the system and pay for it from those funds as we raise those at $20,000 a year, with an average cost of $40,000 or $39,600 anticipated. So we can fund this out over a course of a number of years, yes. But it was just information to get to everybody here so that there was understanding as to why the lining wasn't being worked on. The lining's not being worked on because this analysis shows that it may not be cost effective and in the best interest of spending the money.
Okay, so back to other people's questions. We're not sure we can trust the analysis. We don't get to participate in it, we don't get to review it, we don't get to understand where the estimates come from.
It's all right here.
And it's in the future and it's a lower priority.
This has been out since,
That
it was done with the asset management review, so this isn't something that's just a surprise, this has been kind of.
That doesn't quite stop the questioning of the validity of the numbers and how they derived. That's all.
Numbers are real.
With backup, so that I can look at the backup and say that high-end number has valid quotes, estimates, or whatever that substantiate its validity. I mean, that's what I'd be looking at. And somebody asking the questions of the engineers and the water system guy to make sure we all are on the same page. None of that seems to happen anymore.
My suggestion is, do a 91A, ask for the tank and mass tank, and do an estimate yourself.
I was involved in the Mass Tank project in 2014. I was the one that went to Mass Tank and got the estimates and conferred with all the engineers for hours and hours and got that $96,000 estimate to have all the tanks looked at, inspected in line. Then we put the $100,000 up, we got that approved by the state, then we got it approved by the voters, and that was in February. And then Fluid Engineering did what they had to do. The bid package came out way too late. It came out in the fall. So we had from September to the fall with nothing going on. Meanwhile, Mass Tank is calling me saying, we can start in May. And they had put it on hold. They said, we're not gonna start in September. So that whole year went by with nothing. Then the bid package came out 4 weeks before we had to have all the information for the annual meeting. Mass Tank was the only company that showed up for the bid process meeting. I was there at the meeting. I was the only commissioner at the meeting. They had a lot of questions. The bid package became so thick, they had to send it to their legal department, which took 2 to 3 weeks. Now they had 1 week left to do the real bid. And then when they saw all the boilerplate that was put into that bid package, the legal department said, you know, we're doing Budweiser, we're doing Coca-Cola. They don't hit us with these types of specifications. That's why they don't bid. Enough time and too much boilerplate that they had to address. In that bid package. That's the truth, that's what happened with Mass Tank, and there was no time left to react, and they said they came back with a no bid.
So the bottom team is protecting the village district.
The specs went overboard. Mass Tank didn't get specs like that from Coca-Cola, Budweiser down in Merrimack, and all the other big tank projects they do. Except they got it from Idolice, which is their smallest customer. So I just wanted to say that because a lot of people wondering why it was no bid. And I went to the after bid meeting with them to find out why they no bid it, and they laid it all out on me. And told me,
We weren't privy to that.
you guys didn't show up at the meeting. I was the only one showing up at those meetings.
Mike, was,
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
I want to pose it, he's got to get, Rick's got to
Just
get
a quick question, just to clarify some numbers. So currently, the current bid for the tank lining of these smaller tanks is $27,700. Is that correct? Is that the number? I'm looking at your numbers. If you decided to keep going forward, it would be $27,000 to reline, right?
Yeah.
The warrant article approved $20,600, which was the best guess at the time. I'm looking at the warrant article line here. What was approved to reline these tanks, in fact, was $20,800. Is that correct? I'm looking at your original, what was approved by the warrant, by the taxpayer. This year.
That's what we don't have. That's what we don't have.
All right, so we approved 20, so at the best, in February, the best guess we had to inspect and reline these smaller tanks was $20,800, which had a 20% contingency built into it. Now, and that was the best guess, now the actual number's coming in at 27.7, which is 35% higher than the best guess we had 7 months ago. And I guess it goes back to the question asked much earlier, and I don't want to cast aspersion on Juan King, but I'm just, how do we even trust any numbers we get as ballparks from our experts when we're off by 35%?
What column are you looking at?
I'm looking at column 1, which is the warrant article. We
Yeah,
approved,
and column, the third column over, look at those numbers.
right. So, right,
See, the numbers, the young crowd, inspection and lining, the numbers are identical.
right.
Yeah.
But the actual number now you're getting is 27.7, which is the number you're using to say we should replace instead of inspecting and lining, right?
What you have to do is add, there's a $20,000 last line item, tank servicing. You have to allocate that to all of them. That's Ian's work to connect the
But why wouldn't that have been in the original warrant article?
It was.
Why isn't it listed on the spreadsheet then, as part of the cost?
Look at the last page. See, when you guys put together the numbers, you omitted them. That's why there's a difference between 2005 and 2018. I think you guys dropped that out. Because it wasn't, the 2005 wasn't our number. It was put together on the floor, well, from, and I think Jay was the one who put it forward. So these numbers aren't our numbers. They are to the extent that it's the best estimate that we had at the time. But there is little variation in any of this. There isn't much variation at all. What you're quoting is a problem because the 20,000, if you look at completed, there's 3,461 in tank servicing. It's a bucket because he does, you know, he's doing 3 tanks at a time, building all that. So the variation doesn't exist.
Okay. I think I understand.
So you can trust us on that?
Mhm.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to, end this meeting, Rick's got to get out of here. Rick, thanks very much for coming.
I think you want to speed it along a little bit. Right?
No, he's got one other thing.
so I guess, I mean, I don't want to delay, you know, but I just, from my perspective here, you know, from what we're responsible for providing safe and drinking water for all the residents in the state. I look at, our role is a regulatory, but primarily I describe it as we're walking hand in hand. I like to describe it as we're walking hand in hand with utilities down this path of providing clean water to everybody. In fact, we're working as a team. sometimes we have to drag people kicking and screaming down the path, but we're doing it together, right? Obviously, I don't see people here, I mean, this group doing it together at all, from what I've heard today, all right? So, you know, I'm not pointing the finger at anybody, but I think everyone should take the blame. You have no clue of what's ahead of you here in the next 10 years. You have water that you're wasting every single day in the wintertime. No, there's been no mention about replacing the water main and the bleeders that's been going on. That's something that should be done. But now you get a crisis with the storage tanks, and it is a crisis. And the other thing is that you're going to be spending over $1 million here within 5 to 10 years. So to be talking about, you know, well, if something's 20,000 or 27,000, that is peanuts, okay? And you're wasting your time. You got to look at the big picture, and you know, whether someone should go out, the commissioners should spend time going out and soliciting engineering firms, okay, for pricing. That's time, and I don't think they have. I mean, but at the same time, the specifications are going to be more stringent than they were before that. Okay, you think those were bad specs? Any funding source you use, whether it's SRF or federal funding, the specifications are greater now. So it's not, you know, this isn't a go talk to your buddy or a neighbor who has something. This is publicly bid, and it's going to be well documented. So, you know, we're talking major dollars here. There's been so much time spent about, you know, what's been done in the past and things. I get it to what level of service do you expect to be provided by your water system and the commissions? And I describe it as, I live in Concord, which is a pretty big, large utility. So if I was out of water once a year, would that be acceptable to me? And I say, well, yeah, okay, as long as it wasn't on Christmas Day, when I had all my family, or Thanksgiving, all right? All right? But then now it changes that to, what if I was out of water once a month? Is that acceptable? I would say no, right? So somewhere in between that is what is your level of service. So if you came up on a Friday night, do you expect water to be available? Yeah, okay, well, once a year, or you know, every other week, okay? So there's a level of service that you're expecting, and you want to convey that to the commissioners. Then that translates into what it costs to operate the water system. So whether you're in the house 1 day a year or 365 days, there's a cost associated with operating that water system and having that water available to you at your doorstep, whether you use a gallon or not. So you think about this, so what that translates into, your water cost is going to go up. Now, how much, I don't know, but it is definitely going to go up. And it's something to recognize, and I hopefully you can support, the efforts that are going forward here. I'm not going to, I'm willing to continue on, concerning myself, but I'm not going to come every week or every meeting and listen to the stuff that's gone on, okay, like this. I just think it's, I don't think it's right, And so, I think, there are some things I can, and it's not intended as a threat, but more as a, if something doesn't happen, then the state will come back and we will do enforcement, and the path will be laid out, and there'll be no discussions. It'll be, you're gonna do this, and this is when you're gonna do it, and, and pony up the money. As far as the financing goes, we're very familiar with the financing options that are available to communities like this. So there's a discussion to be had about that. One of the things I would suggest is that, maybe there's a lot of different areas that, like there's a technical side, there's a financing side, there's a public relations side. And maybe what the commissioners do, they divvy those duties up. And then maybe they do solicit a couple of people from the district to help them. And someone, someone listens to the financing, all right? What's available, okay? But it's hard for just 2 or 3 people to absorb and to digest and evaluate everything. It's just not enough time.
They said they didn't need a third person and they shut down the communications committee.
Well,
We had both those things.
I'm, it's just, I think everyone is frustrated here,
Yeah.
But there are the things that have to be done, and, I'm not sure, I think that the storage tank is replacing the Reinhardt tank is probably the most important thing. And there's so many other issues I can talk about, but, at some point, you're gonna have to replace the water main in those, where the blow-offs are. How much do you think that's gonna cost per foot? $250 a foot, So that's something that's gonna have to be done at some point in time, but, again, I think this is good that everybody came out. And I'm available, to contact afterwards, too. I think hopefully people, the commissioners have my contact information, but what I would suggest is, at some point in the next couple months, is to say, all right, come back, have what plan of what are we going forward with? And there's some, in different paths that addressing different things. There's a storage tank issue, what you want to do with the PRVs is another issue. And then, and some of these things will hopefully come back together before the annual meeting, and then there'll be a full presentation to the members of the annual meeting. But it's been very frustrating for me.
And us.
Yeah, so,
Thank you, Rick.
all right?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.